Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics. On this episode of Metawatch for the 30th of March, we were going through the What's Winning Right Now, a recap of UK events, talk about some upcoming UK events you two can get involved with. Then we'll do a little bit of a stats analysis, look at the global meta and what's going on with that. And then for subscribers, there's a tactical tip to help you out as a subscribe benefit. And then finally, we'll roll into a Patreon priority question. So with all that said, let's get straight into it. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Killteam 40k YouTube channel focusing on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks that elevate every part of your Killteam experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Killteam goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below, or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty. Let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to the Metawatch for the 30th of March. There are 6 events that happened down in the UK over the last week. So you've got essentially 3 down the south coast, 2 up in Sheffield and 1 up in Edinburgh. So we'll cover off those events and talk about what's winning right now in the UK meta. So starting off in Sheffield, it's the Yorkshire Killteam Weeknight Warzone on the 25th of March. 3 undefeated players. So in third place we have Declan Rhodes with the Celestian Insidiance. Celestian's doing pretty well on average. That's not true actually. So overall they're kind of like placing, I'd say, pretty consistently as where you'd expect them for placing rates and for win rates. But we've definitely seen good players perform well with them. So I think they're a pretty fair team, but they do have reach, so people can potentially get up and perform really well with them if they wanted to. Declan clearly showing that's the case and getting third places. Congratulations to Declan. In second place we have Johnny with his Mandrakes. Johnny took his Mandrakes to the UKTC at the weekend as well, I believe, and clearly settling in with the play style and learning what to do with the popular team and getting a 19-13 win. So congratulations there to Johnny. In first place though it's Ryan Worthington. Ryan meta is dominant as you'd expect. With the Imperial Navy Breaches, with 2 wins, 19 and 20 back-to-back. He's been on Horde teams fairly regularly, I think, from what I've observed, playing like Vespids and that kind of thing. So he's settling into a different playstyle, Security and Seek and Destroy versus Seek and Destroy and Recon, and a much more durable team with Imperial Navy Breaches. I think they're one to watch personally, Imperial Navy Breaches. I think they've got some good tools. I think they've got some good advantages that they can potentially make use of. And if their natural predators get taken out of the meta a little bit, I think they could be in a good spot. So congratulations, Ryan, for your first place finish there at the Yorkshire Killteam Weeknight Warzone. Rolling into the Killzone on Target 5, there was it's a 10-player event with 3 rounds. There was actually only 1 undefeated, but it's a win, a draw, and a win. And everyone else has at least one loss there. So let's start in third place with Rory Baxter with his Plague Marines getting a single loss and then 2 wins. Plague Marines are I'm expecting something in the data slate because they're not performing too well overall. Rory going 2-1 here, but they seem to lack a little bit of like dynamic nature. That might just be me coming from a team that's really fast, but I think the fact that they're slow, a lot of the melee operatives only have access to melee, means if you can't achieve that 7-inch charge, you're sort of locked out of options as to what you can do. And if you have multiple operatives on your team that are like that, it can become really difficult to be able to sort of position yourself correctly. So you almost have to sit inside your opponent's threat range deliberately so that you can then achieve a threat range, which might mean that you're pushing up too far early on, and then you're just hoping that the durability of the team runs through and you have what you need to be able to get them durable enough. So yeah, Plague Marines, they're doing okay-ish. I think they're doing okay on win percentage. We'll have a look in the global meta in a bit, but I don't think they're placing too well, and I think that's, for me, it comes down to that. Now I think they do perform better on Into the Dark and Tomb World, where there's movement penalties, you can be a bit lessened with the ability to sort of stage further forwards safer in effect, but still tough for them. In second place, though, is Sasha with Nemesis Claw, going a win, a loss, and a win. Nemesis Claw, I still think are good, to be honest. Like their team has been nerfed every single data slate, and somehow comes out of it looking rosy, which is impressive, right? Because that shows how good they were originally, I think. And Sasha's done a great job there, going 2 wins and a single loss. I think, again, like when I look at the various options that they have, I'm trying to think about the control tools they have and the offensive tools that they have. And they have some really good stuff. Being able to delay an activation is pretty good if you're in that elite matchup, doing that mirror match. Being able to make sure you go last is pretty cool with your melter gun or with the screecher or whoever wants you want to set up for a double kill next turn. And they have some really good options for making some of their guys very, very killy. So an example being, Wolf Scouts have the -1 attack dice when fighting in the storm as a tree deploy. These guys have the Grizzly Trophy, which essentially does the same thing, but you have to get a kill first. So you want to try and sequence it so you can get a kill to then be able to get future kills. And they have options that can potentially do that quite well with those delayed activations. And then they also have, with the Vox screen, the ability for some sort of manipulation of activation order and that sort of stuff against your opponent as well. So I think Nemesis Claw are good. I think the other thing that's sort of worth commenting on as well is why I think Nemesis Claw remain in a good place is tack op choices, right? So they have either Seek and Destroy or Infiltration. And being able to take plant devices or steal intelligence is really, really nice for a lot of matchups where you want to play potentially more defensively and you don't want to run headfirst into your enemy. Or you want to get an early plant on their objectives and they'll be able to get lots of points as required. So having that flexibility where, if you're playing against, say, Wrecker Crew as Angels of Death and you're locked into Seek and Destroy and Security, you don't feel like you have a good option there, whereas I think Nemesis Claw do have a good option. And then in first place, it goes to Matt Binnell with a win, a draw, and then a win, with Chaos Cult and doing well there. And I think Chaos Cult are, again, a team that's looking like they're in a really good spot. Their sort of placing percentages is really high, and their win percentage is looking high as well. Just have so many bodies on the table. They're really, really flexible with what they can choose their mutations to be and where they want those mutations to be. If they need a bit of extra speed to be able to charge you, they can get that. If they need a bit of extra durability, they can get that. They can climb better. They can do more damage and all that sort of stuff as well. So I think Chaos Cult have a really good toolkit to be able to do the things that they need to be able to do. Now, are they too good? Possibly, yeah. I think the accurate 2 on Torments with Ceaseless Rending means that they become really, really reliable killers against a lot of teams. But the problem is that is their main damage dealers, so it's like a threat priority against Chaos Cult becomes a nightmare, right? Because if you're playing against a normal team and you're playing against Kazakin, right, or whoever, and they run a melter gun out and they shoot you in the face with a melter gun and you kill that melter gun, that threat is now gone for the rest of the turn, right, or the rest of the game, because it's done and you've removed it. Whereas Chaos Cults, they throw a Torment out and it kills you, and you could then, if you want to, try and kill the mutant that's going to become the Torment next. But if you do that, the Torment is still there, right? So you kill the Torment, and then another Torment appears, right? So although they have these sort of missiles that go in and kill people, they regenerate each turn. So you get a new one each turn, and therefore killing a Torment doesn't give you the same reward as it would do against, say, killing a gunner of another team, because actually you're killing a less impactful model potentially, but if you leave it alive, it's just going to kill you anyway. So really hard to say how you balance that, because you need them to be killy to be able to kill an elite model or something like this. But I think at the moment they're probably just a little bit too reliable and too killy. And they have a lot of other stuff they can do as well, with the Psyker being able to do loads of damage and all this sort of stuff. So Chaos Cult, 14 bodies, it's just a lot. It's a lot of bodies, it's a lot of activations. And they have good tac ops, and they've got some great operatives to be able to go with it. So congratulations, Matt, piloting Chaos Cult to the first place there at Killzone on Target 5. Rolling into the UKTC at Sheffield, there was, again, a no one went all wins, so that was interesting. It was a 6-round event with 26 players, and the top 3. So in third place, it goes to Peter with his Wolf Scouts, 4 wins, a draw and a loss, and showing that Wolf Scouts remain a really strong meta pick. Clearly, they're fast, they're durable, they're killy, they have good control tools. What more can be said about them, really? They're just an all-round good team. I'm expecting them to probably receive some changes in the next data slate, probably to all of that, because at the moment it's a bit too much. I personally think they should be. I like the idea of the Phobos Trixie control stuff that they've got. I like that to stay. I think the fast bit is kind of just built in. They're 7-inch move operatives. You could probably reduce the Wolf down to 7 inches as well. It wouldn't change too much. I mean, it's got a weird base when it comes to movement, but the durability is something I think should be looked at. They're just a bit too durable. The damage reduction equipment, working on every fight, pretty much everywhere, is a lot. The piercing reduction, as and when you need it, is really strong. Defensive rerolls are pretty good on a 3-up save when you have that piercing reduction, and you're probably surviving one hit. And then the ability to counter attack, so that if someone does fight you and fail to kill you, you're probably going to be able to kill them, is a really strong set of abilities to have. So Wolf Scouts remaining really good and strong there. In second place is Harrison Law, also on Wolf Scouts. Not too much more to say there, but congratulations to Peter and Harrison for your third and second places. And then in first place is none other than Tom Shaw, not on Nemesis Claw this time, but on a new team, Hand of the Archon, going a single draw and then 5 wins with Hand of the Archon, which is awesome to see, right? So this is someone taking a team that is not the meta pick and piloting them really well and getting a successful top finish there. And I think Hand of the Archon are pretty good versus elites for a variety of reasons. One, clearly you have the inbuilt activation advantage, which is nice. 2, it's just how they can get around like good armor saves and a lot of the damage breakpoints that you need because of the way that they interact with crits. So Hand of the Archon, for those who don't know, essentially have a lot of access to rending. They've got a lot of access to lethal 5. And they've got the strat ploy to be able to upgrade a normal to a crit if they charge you from conceal or from outside. And essentially that means that they can rapidly generate 4 crits when you wouldn't necessarily expect it. Plus the ability to have ceases from pain tokens, all that sort of stuff. It's very reliable and it becomes a lot of crits very, very quickly. That's really awesome. And that against marine armor saves, every time you have to roll a crit save instead of having to be able to just roll like a normal save, your 3-up suddenly feels way less reliable, because sure, you might make 3 saves on a 3-up, or you might make 2 saves on a 3-up, but that's only blocking 1 crit, or only blocking 2 crits, whatever, depending on how lucky you are, or if you deploy. But the point being is that you still have a lot of damage coming through. So Hand of the Archon can play really well into that. They've also got good archetypes when it comes to tac ops, and they're the standard Trixie Elf team. So I think those buffs, personally, with the leader being able to essentially get pain tokens during their activation has massively helped, and now we're seeing them perform well as a result. So congratulations, Tom, for not just taking an off-meta pick and doing so well with it, but also for winning the UKTC Sheffield event with 6 rounds. That's a good effort. Rolling into the Killteam match play event. Is this the one in Brighton? Harwell Road. Maybe. Let's say yes. I think it's the one down south. It was a 3-round event, 10 players. In third place, Sam Ryder with Deathwatch going a win, a loss, and a win. So just trying to keep our Deathwatch win rates above the 45%. Sam's trying his hardest. Deathwatch, I think, personally remain in a tough spot. Clearly, Sam doing okay here, but I just think that they have a lot of predators in the matchups in the meta right now, and it's really getting worse for them. Combine that with the fact that they just don't feel very durable anymore, and with 5 operatives who feel less durable than say Wolf Scouts who have 6 operatives, it feels difficult to play against them. And so a good comparison would be if you fail to kill a Wolf Scout in a single fight, right? So you charge and fight a Wolf Scout, he's 13 wounds. With a damage reduction in melee, that becomes 14 wounds. If you fail to kill them in a single fight and you fight them again, they're essentially 15 wounds because of the fact that they've then been able to damage reduce again, assuming they haven't then done a counterattack and killed you in between that. And so when you're like a Deathwatch player and you're essentially, you're 15 wounds on your guys, and you think to yourself, well, these guys are as durable as me. Sure, if you can get into their territory and then you can reduce the damage on the normals, you're good. But that's a lot more conditional based than being able to just say, hey, I'm just going to reduce 1 damage in the fight, which is always going to proc. So less durable than their Wolf Scout counterparts. They're not as fast as the Wolf Scout counterparts. And they also, I would say, not quite as reliable with mission tactics, not quite working the same way or not quite as easy to be able to proc rerolls as something else. Now, I was talking about this last week, and some of the comments on the YouTube essentially was like, oh, I think they need to be more reliable. And I couldn't agree more. I think when you've got 5 operatives, you really want them to be able to do the thing that they're supposed to be able to do, right? Like if they go in there and they whiff and they die, that is real painful for you to be able to then deal with. So how do you make it so that Deathwatch become more reliable? And I was actually thinking maybe the special ammunition, one of the options could just be like balanced, and then because they've nerfed the rest of the special ammunition, right? So piercing 1's gone on the piercing crits, rending's disappeared. So now that rending's gone, maybe instead you replace it with an option for balanced. Maybe mission tactics could give something else or be easier to proc. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but what's people's ideas? Like how would you make mission tactics better without making it broken, essentially? Because you could say, oh yeah, well if they're on engage you get ceaseless, and if they're on conceal you get balance, and you choose which one is ceaseless and which one's balanced. But I think that's too much, right? That's clearly too many rerolls, and it's almost like I almost feel like the game would be better. So like how we have accurate 1 and accurate 2, I feel like the game would be better if we had balanced 1 and balanced 2. And you could then, I think that would allow more granularity when it comes to rerolls for the game, because at the moment we seem to have you either get balanced, you either get ceaseless, which can be a significant increase, or you have relentless, and that's good for simplicity. But actually, I'm wondering if having a bit more granularity and balance would be better. So I'm thinking we used to be able to just reroll 1s or reroll A1 or whatever. So I wonder if that would be better for the game. People's thoughts. Is balanced 2 like a crazy thing to be able to have? And then you can have balanced 1, balanced 2. It's not as it's pretty reliable, right? And it's good, and but it's just not saying. Well, I don't know. Thoughts. Just something to ponder on. But anyway, Deathwatch in a tough spot. Doesn't really matter. Sam's cracking on anyway with a 2-1. So congratulations, Sam, for doing well with them. And then into second place, it's Oliver Moore with Mandrakes going 2 wins and a single loss. Mandrakes dropping off in popularity a little bit, I'd say. But the people I have played against them with are always doing pretty well with them, and they always make the games feel really, really close. Now that's often because I'm playing with elites, and I think Mandrakes are really good into that matchup. But the games always come down to 1 or 2 VP, and a lot of those games that I've had, it comes down to, does the leaders just a scratch work, or does the deny activation work, or does the dirge more get the kill during an interrupt or whatever. And I just think that's it's really tough to be able to create a game plan and effectively play against them, because they always just seem to be able to just keep that scoreline right, really, really, really close the whole time. Partly because of the way the attack ops work. If they're doing steal intelligence, or if they're doing recon attack ops or flank or whatever it is, they can position to be able to get those really, really effectively. Flank's less popular now from what I've seen. I think that's because it's more telegraphed, and maybe it's just harder to play against, harder to play into, or how to describe that, but your opponent now knows what you're trying to do, so they can prepare for it better. Whereas I've seen more sort of Steel Intelligence sort of plays. It was Steel Intelligence, was it? Yeah, and then and that kind of thing. So, or Retrieval is also the option that I've seen played well, and they seem to be able to do quite well at all of those. So Mandrakes, I think they remain in a good place. They just seem to be slightly less popular than what they have been previously. But congratulations, Oliver, for your performance getting second place there. And in first place is Robert Smith with his Inquisitorial Agents. 3 very good wins there, 19, 21 and 18. Only dropping, 3 VP over 3 games. So that's, is it 4 VP? 4 VP over 3 games. Sorry, or 5. 5 VP. I can't do maths. There you go. Still, point being, very impressive. Performance there to drop only 5 VP over your 3 games is awesome to see. Inquisition, I think they're the evergreen, very hard to play team. That if you were to say tomorrow what team will you never be surprised to hear has won an event, I'd say it's Inquisition. Because they feel like in whatever meta comes up, they've got the right answer for it. But you've got to have the brain power to be able to say, okay, in this matchup on this mission, this tack up is best, and I'm going to take this particular entourage with me because it's going to give me access to this and whatever to be able to make it work. And that's a lot, right? And then that's just in like the warm up to the game, and then you get to the table and you're like, right, I've got all these operatives, different auras, different buffs. I need to sequence them all correctly to make sure I maximise my game power. And I just think that is a lot to do. So kudos to Rob, who has clearly nailed that over 3 events and done really well there to be able to get first place, and rightly deserved first place by playing Inquisition. Next up is AFK Gaming Killteam Tournament. This is another 3-round event, 10 players. In third place, we have Adrian with his Murderwing, going a single loss and 2 wins. Murderwing, interestingly in the UK, haven't been performing quite as, I would say, powerfully, quite as spectacularly as people probably predict. Globally, they're doing pretty well, and they still seem to be winning events. I think a lot of people don't, from the discussions I have with the Murderwing players, I think a lot of them just don't vibe with the play style. So they're like, I'm playing this team, I understand how I can win, and I've got to play really cautious, really defensive, but I don't want to play like that. And then they get halfway through the game and they go, I'm bored of this, so I'm going to just play the way that you would play Nemesis Claw or the way you play Legionary, and they're just, in that particular play style, less effective Nemesis Claw or Legionary. So you have to sort of stick it out, and it can lead to a very, very close game. I had a very close game at the weekend, which came down to essentially a couple of dice rolls at the end, and it did feel like they just need So if they've invested the CP to wait out to be like, right, I'm going to do my last activation to be able to kill this guy on the objective, whatever, which then means I go up and crit up and I get all these benefits. If they whiff that because they went for the melter or whatever and it didn't get the kill, then it does feel like that's really tough to be able to then deal with. It's like at that point you go, well, now that you've whiffed, what happens? So I think you have to commit the most reliable operatives to be able to do it. So I think you need to commit the Chaos Lord probably to be able to do those plays and force that points differential, because it's usually only going to be a 1 or 2 point differential that makes those things happen. So you have to use the most reliable operatives that you have access to, I think. But Adrian still getting third place with them and performing really well, which is awesome to see. And I think, I do think they'll get nerfed, and I think then we'll see a lot more people jump onto them, because I still feel like there's a little bit of community sort of lethargy towards the team where they're like, I don't want to play that just yet, and which is a bit sad actually, because if people have invested in the models and invested the time, they should definitely be able to put them on the tabletop, and they should be able to get fun out of their toys. So hopefully they'll come out and the community reception will be, this is good, and I want to play against Murderwing because they're fun to play against, which is what we want to see, right? In second place, Battleclade, piloted by Thomas Jeffrey, 2 wins and a single loss. Again, Battleclade, I think, generically doing terribly in the global stats, but Thomas is just like, yeah, nah, don't care, 2 wins and a single loss, I'm in. I think, for me, they still feel like a slow team. They don't feel particularly durable. So 5-inch move and 8-inch chassis. I know that 8-inch chassis, 8 wound chassis. And they do have a damage reduction, but it just doesn't feel very reliable. And also, against a lot of the meta, it doesn't necessarily matter because, you know, someone will hit you with a, like, you'll go into combat with Wolf Scouts who are 4-5 and they get the crit through, and it doesn't matter if you damage reduce it or not because essentially you have to damage reduce both to be able to live. And so if you don't get both of them, which is quite unlikely on 2 5-ups, then it doesn't matter. So you end up just dying anyway, or they strike you with 2 crits and then you're done. But and that's always like a tough one, right? Like when your damage reduction is so variable, because you could say like, all right, well, I'll parry your other crit in the hope that I then make the 5-up, and then I live on 1 wound or something. But if you parry, do no damage to the person that's then fighting you in melee, and then you fail your 5-up and you just die, like that feels horrible, right? Because then you're like, well, I could have actually hit you and done something, but now I've just done nothing to you, and that doesn't feel great. And on top of that, like there are a whole bunch of hitting on 4s. I know the flamers hit on 2s and that stuff, and then the leader hits on 3s, but that they don't feel very reliable when it comes to their damage output. I've seen a load of cool suggestions, you know, like giving more accurate and how you could do that in the comments. And I think those are all really cool. I think a lot of people want to see the dashes back on the Underseer. I think that's, again, would be really cool. I think making him a key buffing character would just be awesome. And so then you have this almost like a, I don't know how to describe it, but like kill the controlling guy, and like then so the whole team gets debuffed. I think that's a cool play style. But anyway, congratulations, Tom, for your 2 wins and a loss there with Battleclade getting second place. And then in first place, another Tom, but this time rocking Angels of Death, going 3 straight wins. I wonder if I can check the list on here. No, I can't. But yeah, congratulations. I think Angels of Death, like, again, they're performing pretty averagely, right? They're sort of like middle of the pack. They're doing averaging win rates, and I think they have a few bad matchups that are out there, but they do have the tools to be able to win them if you're a little bit lucky. So I'm thinking Wreckers is a really tough matchup for them, but I think if you're running aggressive, like the leader can get the kill versus the knob, which is useful, because if you're 5-7 but you're rending, you can kill in 2 crits, and then if the knob's having to parry you out to try and survive, then they're just dying probably just as easily, but almost doing less damage. So yeah, they don't like that. I'm not sure they like running into Murderwing playing on like Volcus or that, but I think they're absolutely fine if they're playing into them on Tomb World. They can do some really funny things against like the Chaos Lord with the tilting shields. So basically saying, hey, actually you're not rending, you're not lethal 5. You're now just 4-6 on 6s. Let's just fight like normal. Is pretty harsh. So the captain again can do some mean things there, where against some of their key operatives, if you pop that at the right time, you can really have an advantage of how you potentially kill people there. Again, small things like this is where I talk about the durability of Wolf Scouts just being too much. Your captain with aggressive power fist is really good at doing 14 damage in 2 hits. The fact that the Wolf Scout leader is able to essentially act as though they're 15 wounds is pretty gross for that maths. And that's why I say again it's kind of a bad matchup in that respect, because Wolf Scouts, they're fast, they're as durable, they're as killy, and they have better tackle options than you. So it just feels pretty difficult to be able to compete against those teams. But congratulations, Tom, for rocking 3 straight wins with AOD. And again, awesome to see some not particularly meta teams being piloted to great success there with AOD and Battleclade. And then rolling into Killteam 5, so up north in Edinburgh. In third place, Ryan Shields, rocking Wrecker Crew with 2 wins and a single loss. Yeah, I think Wrecker Crew they remain good, right? Like they remain good. They're loving the sort of the meta in which they exist. They're pretty fun to play. They're pretty interesting to play against. They are weirdly durable when you go into them in melee, particularly once they've got their Wrecker engine like up and running and they have those Wrecker points available. They're always trying to keep themselves at like 5 Wrecker points so they can just spend them and keep them and never have to get locked out of Wrecker points. And if they do that, then they can just do some like crazy stuff with their shooting and that sort of thing. And it's how quickly it pops off that can be like challenging. Is it just really rapidly escalates. Now, I personally think you shouldn't be able to spend quite as many Wrecker points in each fight or shoot. I think punishing by 3 is too much. I do think that they have, so whether the Firefight ploy or strategy ploy, I have to check now. The one that gives them an extra Wrecker point near one of their dead guys. I think if that lasted until the end of the game, that'd be pretty cool. It's when they kill someone, they get the Wrecker point. If that lasts to the end of the game, that'd be pretty cool because then you could do it where like you can reduce how many like Wrecker points they can spend, but that could be a way for them to get above that again, just to give it a bit more of an interesting play and make that ploy a bit more used. But I think at the moment most people seem to say they don't use that ploy because it's just not useful. So almost give with one hand and take with the other, I think is probably what Wrecker Crew need, because in some matchups they're a bit too dominant, and then in others they're maybe struggling a little bit. I think that's probably the ones that they struggle against is the ones that can get around the just a scratch. So if you have crit spam or something like this, to be able to do that, then you can really put the hurt on with them. But congratulations, Ryan, for your third place finish. Ryan meta is strong there. In second place, you have Fraser Hogg going with Raveners with 3 straight wins off the bat there. Awesome to see. Again, Raveners, a team I haven't seen too much on the tabletop. I've actually saw them, a couple of them at Sheffield being played nearby. But I didn't get to play against them, and they remain one of those teams which clearly like they have a very high potential, and people are doing well with them, but they're just not seen that often. So I think again, Raveners are a demonstration that like fire operative kill teams are valid. They do work. I think a lot of people when that was announced were like, how would this be good? And actually, they can do it, having such a large wound base. And their sort of ambush tactics are really interesting, and I think for them, like tac-op selection is really interesting. So, because they always have this like null deployment, it's kind of like how they can make that work is pretty cool. And the leader is so impactful with his ability to hold objectives. It's really interesting seeing how that team can play the crit op in a very, very different way to how a lot of other teams operate. So congratulations, Fraser, for your placing second there with the Raveners. And in first place, it goes to James Hale with Blades of Cain. Now, Blades of Cain on the global meta is a team that seems to be struggling quite a bit. But they were, and it's interesting because they were so good for so long. And I think the main thing is how many Wolf Scouts there are in the meta, because depending on the map and mission, like Wolf Scouts can be a tricky one to deal with because they're so killy. Again, that being said, if you run like the Dire Avengers, and this is something that I learned, is like the killing potential of Dire Avengers is just really high when they get all their rerolls off and the plot the rending and that sort of stuff and the lethal 5. Suddenly it becomes just a lot in a turning point for shooting to be able to go through. So I'll be interested to see how Blades of Cain continue to perform actually, particularly post data slate, because again, if a lot of their predators sort of go away, then are they back in the running as one of the top teams? Are they like being significantly underlooked? I think they're a really flexible team with they can take basically any tag ups that they want, which is pretty cool to see. So I think also one of the challenges in Beta Cain is sometimes you just need you need 8 Banshees, or you need like two of each or whatever, or you need to go Dire Ranger heavy based on the fact that you're on ITD versus a certain team. Like you just need these things, which means you have to invest a lot of money to like buy all of the various options that you need with Dire Avengers, with Blades of Cain. I'm not saying that these things are the way to play it, by the way. I'm just saying that like there's times where I think people want to switch quite significantly what the composition of their team is, and therefore you have to be able to buy all these aspect warriors. And it's not like it's like you can buy 5 of them in a box set. It's like, no, you have to buy 8 and then have an Exarch. So anyway, I'm on a tangent, but Blades of Cain are expensive and difficult to learn. But James Hale there doing really, really well, going 3 straight wins and taking the crown there at Killteam 5. Cool, that is the meta recap. If your event took place during this timeline between last week and this week, and I haven't covered it, then please let me know, and I'll make sure to cover it in next week's Metawatch episode on a catch-up. But congratulations to all the winners there for the various games that you played. Rolling into what's upcoming. So this is the website that we use to sort of promote UK events. You can find it in the description below, or you can go to talkify.com/KT events, and it will show you all of these various things that are coming up. So on the 4th of April, it's just sold out, I believe, in Stockport. It's a 3-round doubles event coming up this coming weekend. 11th of April, we have the Killzone Curtain event. There's also the South Coast UKTC event. There's the Forged in Fire, which is the single event going on, and there is a 5-man teams event happening in Yorkshire Killteam as well, which is the 6 cities event. So 6 different cities participating in the north with 5-player teams. So a lot going on over the next 2 weekends. Then we have in the 18th of April, Norwich Killteam running their sort of annual sort of spring event. Awesome to see. They're also allowing declassified teams, so just worth noting if you want to try and get your Star Striders out and about. Just something in the back of my mind. We have the Killteam Brighton Battlegrounds on the 2nd of May, which is double populated, but don't worry about it. We have on the 3rd of May the Killteam Invitational, which is the Lincoln one. So again, great local event. Highly recommend. Before we're then into the Killteam Leicester Narrative event, I believe it's a series they're going to do, and then Yorkshire Killteam Grudges and Gumballs Rolling Zeros GT the 9th of May, and the 16th of May is the Cambridge Killteam Spring Mayhem event as well. So loads of cool events coming up. I'm like away, I think, from like the 3rd of May until 2nd or 3rd of May until like here. And I'm missing out on some really cool events, which is a shame. So make sure you go on my behalf, please, and have an amazing, fun time. Let me know how it goes. All right, rolling into the stats analysis. So thank you to Smiles, Lies and Gunfire for providing all this data. They basically run this website called Pretentious Plastic Ops, the link to which is in the description below. And they do an amazing amount of effort to basically get all the BCP data into a very easy to read format and make it available for all of you to be able to then observe and see through here. So it's just been updated today. Top 5, not a huge amount of change. We're seeing that Mandrakes are sort of slipping down the list, and Breaches are actually on the rise. And Hand of the Archon also sneaking up here as well on the way up. But in first place, it remains Murderwing. No massive shocks there. Win rate, placing rate kind of remains similar. I am interested to see that, like, the way this sort of biases this is like between these two. I think it's very, very close as to which team is the best at the game right now. I think Murderwing is the stronger team if you were to play it as in like equal skilled opponents. Actually, that's not true. Depending upon the map and the mission is dependent upon which of these teams is better. Because if you play them on Tomb World, I think Wolf Scouts are going to win that every single day. If you play it on Volcus and it's a mission that favours your activation advantage, then Murderwing are going to win it. So maybe it's a bit more 60-40 towards Wolf Scouts here than it is Murderwing. So anyway, I'm expecting these two to catch a nerf, which I was sort of expecting it by the end of May, end of March. So maybe it's going to be end of April. I don't know. Maybe we'll get it in the next couple of weeks. Should be soon. I think the last one was January, right? So usually it's like every 3 months. So we're expecting it probably in the next month. Hopefully, we'll see what comes. Then in third place, Chaos Cult remains on their rise. 55% win rate and a 25% placing rate. That is a really high percent placing rate. That's almost double what you'd expect a team to be able to get, which could be down to the fact that there's a small group of players. There's 51 players here. So that could be dominated by some really strong players within this group consistently performing. Or it could be an indicator that the team is actually being slept on and is really strong. In fourth place, Inquisition, 56% win rate and a 20% placing rate. Again, so really strong placing rate, really strong win rate. These teams are looking pretty good here. Rolling down into Wreckers in fifth place with a 54% win rate and a 15% placing rate. So again, this kind of says like Wreckers are only just slightly overperforming, and this is just slightly above average. This is just slightly above average. So like they're not actually going too crazy, but just worth being aware of. Mandrake says slipping down. The one to watch for me is Breachers on the way up. 52% win rate or 53% win rate, but a 19% placing rate there, which is really good to see. That means that again, like statistically, these guys are overperforming when it comes to their placing. Now, of note, other teams that are sort of overperforming. When you look at it, if you see Farstalkers down here at 15%, so although their win rate's pretty average, there are more players than average podiuming with them, which is cool to see. And another one just worth pulling out is Felgor. So you'll hear a lot of people say like that they think Farstalkers are a strong team, Felgor are a strong team, but you see that they're on a 50% win rate. And then people will say, well, if they're only winning half their games, that's not very good. And that's true. However, what it means is that like within this meta, you have slightly above average, so average is 12.5%, slightly above average amounts of players going on their sort of undefeated streaks or getting their podiums in, but the larger player base is underperforming with them. Rolling down to the bottom though, not too much shift here, which is kind of sad to see, but again, this teams I'm expecting to get some love in the next day or slate. Salvagers, 36% win rate. Damn, that's low, and a 5% placing rate. Like I regularly have this conversation with Bart as to like, hey, are salvages really bad, or like, am I just like viewing this with the wrong lens? I'm not too sure. But essentially, they need some help. I think they need to be made easier to play, and I think they need some spice being injected back into them. Is kind of like the viewpoint for me. Plague Marines we talked about earlier, 38.5% win rate, 4% placing rate. So again, when I say about 12.5% is the average, this is a really low placing rates, right? So that means that not many people are winning with these at all. They're not going undefeated. And that combined with these win percentages just show that these teams need some serious help. Hyrotech, 39%, 4%. Again, not particularly popular. One thing I should note about Plague Marine, is that they're a popular team. So that a lot of people are playing this team and just not having any success with them. So like, often when you see these teams that aren't doing well are usually not very popular. But there's like 3 teams here that towards the bottom of the pack that are actually very popular teams, but just aren't performing well at all. Anyway, so Hyrotech, not doing great. I said previously, I think a lot of their players are rocking on Canoptech instead. But I think the team has some spice. I think they can do well. I just think they need. I don't know what they need. Like, they were a real problem for a long time in the old edition, the last approved ops series. And I don't know if it's just like the various nerfs they received, or if it's the change of approved ops, or if it's because they're not popular right now. But I feel like they've got the potential. They just need probably someone to commit to it. And I think part of it will be making them exciting to play again, giving them some new tools, and just sorting out the internal balance would definitely help. And then looking into the fourth worst performing team is Scouts. Still down here, the poor Scouts. Unlike their Wolf brothers, they lurk at the bottom of the tables instead. But yeah, 39.5% win rate and only a 3.89% placing rate. Again, not particularly popular team. I think this team does have some tricks. I don't know what's going to make them suddenly do better. I don't know if it's their inability to kill elites or if it's their like lack of durability. So I mean, like one solution is you could just make them all 11 wounds, right? And then suddenly their vulnerability against like elven teams like Blades of Cain becomes way less problematic, because right now 10 wounds against like Blades of Cain, you just go Banshees and you kill them all in 2 hits, and there's nothing you can do about it, and they all outrange you, and so they can do that really effectively. So maybe you go like 11 wounds to make them more durable, but you almost don't want them to become like a problematic wound count, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like how do you keep the team fun? How do you keep it so that they're enjoyable? How do you keep them tricksy as well? I think is some interesting discussion to have there. So yeah, I don't know. Scouts. I am open to suggestions on scouts. What do they need? What do people think? How would you fix scouts? And then Battleclay we also talked about previously. 38.62% win rate and a 8% placing rate. So they're doing better in placing than some of these, basically saying that some people are able to win with them, and we saw some examples of that this week. However, overall, they're not doing great. And again, this is still below what it should be, just for note. And therefore they're just struggling a little bit, and I think that's partly due to their lack of mobility, and their lack of reliability, and the lack of sort of reliable durability is probably the way to describe it. I will just quickly touch on stealth suits. I played quite a few games against stealth suits now. I think when they first came out, they were very difficult to play against. People were sort of learning how to work against that, and then people figured out a strategy, which was I'm going to do scouting in movements, I'm going to hide on advantages, I'm going to move away from you, and we saw them have some success as people were then not familiar with how to counter that counterplay, and now I think people have learned that that's what they do. And so if you play on like ITD, you hide behind closed doors when you're ready, and then you jump out and you kill them by double shooting as opposed to being a melee, or you charge, let them fall back, then double shoot them, or shoot them with something powerful enough to be able to do it. And so you just have this sort of like they weren't great. They figured out a play style. People figured out how to counter that play style, and now they're back to not being great. It's how it feels to me. And I think one of the things that they consistently struggle with is just that inability to kill anything that isn't in their territory. So, like, if you're staging, ready to go and punch someone or shoot someone with a melter gun on a move dash or something like this, and you're like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. They can't reliably come and kill you. So, like, they have to move, dash, and shoot you with a burst cannon or a fusion gun. They whiff, and then that's it, and that's then they lose that model and it's game, because they have a punishing kill grade. Which is worth noting. Their kill grade is pretty horrible for them. Combine that with the fact that they've got, as I said, a lack of offensive reliability outside of their territory. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough world for the stealth suits, but they're really popular. People like them. People like Tau. People want to play stealth suits. So I think they're definitely a team that needs some love, needs some focus, and they're probably like a good example in my opinion of like. Everyone likes to say like power creep is the problem, and there are very strong teams that have come out recently. That's true, but there's also bad teams that have come out recently as well. And in my opinion, stealth suits are an example of that. Like they're not a particularly dominant team in the meta. There are some people who are performing very well with them, but I think that's like partly to do with map, mission, and I think learning how to play against them is difficulty. And if you've never played against that playstyle before, sure, it's going to catch you out. You know, like if you leave all your ready operatives so that they can be scouting movement at the start of TP2, and you give them free points, sure. But if your key operatives aren't visible, or the ones that you're going to expose aren't visible, and the ones that you aren't going to expose are visible, then you can sort of do this sort of like shift where you move people out when they've expended, and then now they're the one capping the objective in the open, and then the other guy that was ready, who's been scouted, can now move to a staging point where it's hidden and not visible. And if you know those sorts of things and you understand how that works, you'll start hiding in strongholds behind visibility and that sort of stuff, not to be able to give your opponent the options to be able to do these things. And then finally, when it comes to popular teams that are not performing well, Deathwatch, with a just under 45% win rate and a 8.5% placing rate. So again, on the weak side for win percentage, and on the weak side when it comes to placing as well. But a very popular team, right? So like if for community stuff, like if you want to make the most impact in teams to buff right now, it's going to be Deathwatch, Stealth Suits, and Plague Marines are the ones that are sort of like are very popular but really not performing very well. Now, that being said, I reckon if you gave buffs to all these other teams that are in this sort of like section that are not popular, and they made them very interesting, you might suddenly see their popularity also rise. But as it stands, these three teams are popular but not performing. So we can't just say, oh, it's because no one's on them. It's like, no, people are playing these teams, they're getting the reps in, and they're just not doing what they should be doing, essentially. Cool. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about stats because I want to try and go to bed tonight. So let's do the tactical tips. So for those who don't know, I have a subscriber benefits. If you're a subscriber to the channel, this tactical tip is going to be for you. If you're not subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. That's the end of the Metawatch, and I'll see you next week on the next one. Obviously jest, but it does massively help if you do just hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, all that sort of thing. It really does help us out, grow the channel, get more people getting involved with more Kill Team more of the time. Anyway, tactical tip for this week is learning how to re-roll your dice and sequencing of re-rolling your dice. So this is what I see quite a lot, is essentially when it comes to re-rolls and spending CP and wanting to re-roll dice, people will roll they'll roll their 5 attacks, whatever, and they'll get no hits, and they'll go, oh, I've got 5 CP, I'm just going to spend 5 CP to re-roll all my dice because that's what I need to do right now. And actually, like the question you should really be asking yourself is how much CP do I need to spend, and let me do it one at a time. Because let's say that you're doing melee and you need 3 hits to be able to succeed, right? And let's say you have 4 attacks and you re-roll, you've only got 2 hits so far, right? People often, I see this happen where they say I'll spend 2 CP and I'll re-roll both the fails because I need a success. It's like, you don't need to do that, right? So re-roll one at a time. Each time it's going to give you more information to be able to know if you should do the next reroll. Additionally, understand that melee is simultaneous, right? So you're going to roll all your dice, then your opponent's going to roll all of theirs. So for instance, I've had in the past where I've got like a crit and a hit, and I'm like, oh my god, I rolled really poorly. But let's see what my opponent rolls. And then your opponent rolls and they only get a single hit on their dice. And then you realise that actually you can just strike with the normal. They can't block your crit with their normal, so they strike you with their normal, and then you crit them and they die, and you didn't have to actually spend any rerolls, right? So like, use the knowledge that you can have to be able to then actually determine if you need to be able to do a reroll. If you are doing rerolls, you can do them one at a time to be able to understand what you need to be able to do. Another example is if you're fishing for a crit for rending or something, you can say, cool, I'm gonna reroll one of these, because if you get the crit on the reroll, you might then say, yep, I'm happy with that, I've got it now. Or you might want to decide that you're going to reroll successes to be able to fish for a crit. If you have Relentless, say, you might go, cool, I'm going to reroll this one. Nope, didn't work, I'll reroll the next one. Didn't work, and you roll the next one. But at any point, if you roll one of those into a 6, you will then stop because you proc your rending or whatever it is that you need. Or maybe it's the devastating wounds that you're after or something, right? So whatever it is, like, just understand how to or when to do those rerolls. If you've got Relentless, you're probably always going to reroll all the fails, for example. So you can reroll all the fails straight away. Don't waste time on that. But for the successes and that sort of stuff, you can delay on it. The other one is Purity Seals, or any sort of discard 2 to make one a success. So I've seen this quite a few times where you'll have, say, 2 CP left, and you want to shoot a plasma gun, and it's really critical that the plasma gun gets this kill. And you go, okay, so I've shot my plasma gun, I've got 2 hits. All right, I've got 2 CP. People will go, well, I really need this kill, I'm going to reroll both of them. Where actually, it's better for you to say, okay, I really want this kill, I'm going to reroll one of these and see if it becomes a success. And if it does become a success, you can then decide if you want to spend the CP to reroll the other one. But if you fail with that one, it might be better for you to say, okay, well, I've spent 1 CP and I've failed. Therefore, the best result I can possibly get from this is rerolling my next one into a success, which is only a 67% chance to happen. And actually, I'm better off just using my purity seals to guarantee that success to come through, if that makes sense, right? So rather than wasting that CP straight away and spending more CP than you have to, it can give you a bit of efficiency. The other one that I've seen is is potentially you do this scenario where you roll a dice, you do a reroll, and you get a crit out of it, and that activates piercing crits, and now suddenly the model you're trying to shoot guarantees dies, because they can now only save a certain amount of dice, and therefore you don't need to reroll the other one to be successful, because you've now got that critical effect that's going to impact how it works, or it's dev wounds or something like this, which then impacts the maths of how it works. So the main thing I'm getting at is understand how your reliability mechanics work. Try to maximize the knowledge that you have when it comes to using the dice, and use the rerolls when you need to use them, and reroll them one at a time. So like the easy rule of thumb, just reroll your dice one at a time. It then gives you the information to be able to make a decision there and then. If you're doing melee, let your opponent roll their dice before you do your rerolls. It gives you more information to be able to understand if you need to reroll them or not. And if you're using purity seals or something like this, then be aware and cognizant of that to be able to make sure you use them sensibly. Hopefully all that makes sense, and is nice and easy to understand as a very easy to use tactical tip. And I only say that because I've seen this happen multiple times on the tabletop. My opponent goes to do it, and I sort of say, hey, you don't actually have to reroll it straight away. You can just choose to reroll one of those first and see what the result is. And then, most of the time whenever someone's doing a CP reroll, it's always a 1 into a 1, right? That's 100% of the outcome of a CP reroll. But sometimes it does come up where they go, oh, I got a crit. Oh, I don't actually need to reroll. And you go, yeah, exactly. You save yourself a CP. Cool. Hope that was useful. If you found that useful and you're like, hey, that's a really good tip actually, consider dropping a like so that the channel gets promoted and more people will learn more good stuff going forwards. Finally, the last way you can support the channel is by joining the Patreon. So for £3 a month to get access to the Discord, you can send Patreon priority questions in. I answer them live on the show like this, and I'll try and do that, I said, on a weekly basis. I'm trying to do a few more things in the background for Patreon as well, so I'm working on that as and when my work-life balance permits it. And it really helps get me to go to various tournaments and get more reps in, that sort of thing. So I do appreciate the patrons for all the support they give the channel. So anyway, with that, I put out these Patreon priority questions, and someone's asked, for best overall events, how are placings determined? Are there painting and sports scores, or is it based on best opponent / painted votes? If so, how is that combined with game scoring? So, firstly, this varies with each event. So I would recommend checking with your TO to ask how they do it, or I would read in the event description, event pack, with what they do. But I can talk about how generically it happens for most tournaments in the UK. Not all tournaments, but this is how most tournaments would do it. So you'll get to the end of your day. It's a 1-day or 2-day event. Doesn't really matter. It will be at the end of the event. There'll be a QR code, or there'll be a website link emailed to you, whatever's easiest. Most of us now use a sort of combined spreadsheet which does all the working out for us, because an amazing guy, I believe it was Kev from Leicester, that developed the spreadsheet, the mythical TO spreadsheet, that does all the sort of the computation. But anyway, you get an email, you go to the link, you go to a Google's form, you enter your player name, right? And then you select your favourite opponent that you played against. So out of your 3, 4, 6 games, whatever, you choose the opponent that you like the most. And that was your favourite game that you played against. And then you choose the best kill team visually or hobby-wise that you played against out of those 6 games as well. So painting scores are usually done separate, so they'll have a separate painting competition, and all of those scores are calculated separately to this because of what it's about. And this one is against the players that you played against, who did you have the most fun against, as opposed to, if you turned up and you had an absolutely outstanding paint scheme, you're always going to win whatever, then that's separate. Anyway, essentially, for each person who votes for you, you get, I think it's like 3 points for both sportsmanship or painting. And that works the same way when it comes to sort of game points. So every win you get 3 points, every draw you get 1 point, and every loss you get 0 points. So you then get this sort of combined tally score between these 3 metrics, and that gives you an overall weighting as to where you end up. And then that comes out on a spreadsheet, and you see with a score. So let's say you won 2 games, you get 6 points from your 2 games that you won. Let's say you got 2 sportsmanship votes, so you get another 6 points from your sportsmanship vote. And let's say you got a painting vote, you get 3 points from your painting vote. Your final score would be that 6, 6 and 3, 15 total, and you go, cool, your final score overall was 15 points. Now, the person who won all 4 games, they might say get 3, 3, 3, and 3 for their games that they've won. So therefore, they score 12 points. But if they got 0 painting awards, they would get 0. And if they got 0 sportsmanship points, they would get 0. And therefore, their total score at the end would be 12, if that makes sense. So even though you only won 2 games, but you had 2 of your opponents vote for you for sportsmanship and 1 for painting, you're getting an overall greater score than the person who just won all 4 of their games. But clearly, your games still play into it. One of the things that I think might be interesting is adding when it comes to sportsmanship and painting, a first and second, essentially. So we do it where you like rank them, but I think first and second. So the first award you gives you 3 points, and the second would give you 1 point. Clearly, all of this is just like more maths to have in the spreadsheet, but that's kind of how in which it works. So those who are like aware that I'm trying to push for a best opponent, best overall this year is what I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to obviously focus on all three parts of that. So you have to have your own painted kill team. You can't have someone else's painted kill team. So I've been doing hobby, and then I'm not necessarily competing with like the Jonathan Sollys of the world, who are clearly going to win the painting competition overall. I'm competing against the other people that they have played against during that tournament, right? So you don't have to be, world-class hobbyist, although clearly it helps if you are. But you're competing against those other people, and then additionally for the sportsmanship, in the same way, you're competing against other people that you've played against. So I personally would like to see it where you get those sort of 2 votes per category. I think that'd be quite cool. And then essentially, you've got an opportunity there to maybe get a bit more of a weighting in points when it comes to overall victory. Did that answer all the questions there? So then, what they'll also do is they can then split those categories down. So they can look at just the opponent's scores and take from that your best opponent. So if you got 4 votes, I'm assuming 4-round event, if you got 4 votes for best opponent, they will take that score and say that is the best opponent overall, and then you have the best overall score, which is obviously going into your placing and your painting as well. Hopefully that answered the question. But as I said, it is worth checking with your TO and seeing how they do it. And it is worth checking on the tournament pack to see if it's listed there, because then you'll see how all the various tiebreakers work and any pairing metrics that they have, because these things inevitably happen. But a lot of it is just TOs trying their hardest to try and get the best result. And additionally, sometimes people will exclude you from, like, if you win best overall, they might not let you win the best opponent, because if those 2 ones were tiebreakering, for instance, and you're a tiebreaker between 2 people, it probably makes sense to give one person best overall and one person best opponent, based on the tiebreakers. So that's all down to like TO discretion. But generally in the UK, that's how we do it. We have those 3 categories. It's a points-based system. We put that into a spreadsheet that everyone votes for at the end, and that's how people get awarded their points. Which is why, again, if you're a player in a tournament, the TO says, hey, it's really, really important that you vote for your best opponent and your best painted. It really is, because it's going to potentially affect someone's ability to get their golden ticket for best overall, or it might affect how they place overall at the end of the day, and they really want to have that. So make sure you do your part. If you've had a really fun game against someone, you thought, hey, that person is an absolute blast to play against, I've learnt loads from playing against them, or I had loads of fun during that game, or I looked at their models and I thought they were beautiful and it really helped me immerse in the game, whatever, then make sure you vote for them in whatever various parts of those categories make the most sense. Cool. Hope that answered the question. That is it for this week. We'll be back next week to talk more Metawatch and all things going on. I'm going to try and get some more games in. I've been doing some tournaments last couple of weekends, so I need to probably do some sort of a tournament recap, talk about all those at some point as well. So I'll try and do that, and then I'll let you know how it's getting on. Hopefully, the next couple of weeks we'll have a data slate to talk about, and I can do a tier list and all that sort of good stuff that people probably want to see. So hopefully all that is still to come. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop us a like, subscribe, comment, consider joining the Patreon, all that sort of good stuff, and we'll see you all next week. Take it easy. That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.